Hello, fellow members of the Midnight Society. Welcome back to another episode review from the show Are You Afraid of the Dark? Last time, we covered the tale of Watcher's Woods, Sam's initiation story about two girls who get lost in a forest filled with trapped souls. Tonight's narrative, from Tucker, is about a boy who makes one too many prank calls. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this Season 3, Episode 4, The Tale of the Phone Police. We open on the gang waiting for Tucker to arrive, which should already give everyone pause since he comes there with his older brother Gary, but when Frank asks where Tucker is, Gary assures everyone that he is there, and then this happens.
Tucker? Yeah. We're all set.
No. This kid is not about to tell his story via early 90s cell phone. Wow, okay, we're really doing this. Where do I start? That phone, which appears to be of the Motorola Dyna TAC series, could hold a charge for up to 60 minutes, so I hope Tucker is telling a story as short as a regular episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Also, anyone who used cell phones back then can tell you that you weren't making crystal clear calls and would often get disconnected. They're in the middle of the woods! This is more unbelievable than the time David waited in the woods in a solid black costume all through Gary's story just so they could scare the others at the end. Anyway, Tucker explains that phones are scary because when you answer the phone, you make a connection and it may be to a place that you don't want. Or it could be to Domino's where you used to be able to get a pizza in under 30 minutes or it was free. Why do you have to be such a buzzkill, Tucker?
I knew that little puke was gonna be trouble.
The tale begins with our two main characters, Chris and Jake, making prank phone calls. Chris is a little hesitant hanging up the phone on his first attempt, but Jake convinces him through the power of peer pressure.
Do it! Yes, you can!
I'm pretty sure that's a speed record for the fastest Shia in an episode yet. Booyah! Ooh, or better yet, Booyaka Shia! Booyaka Shia. You get it because of the... I don't have to explain myself to you. Shia gets me. Chris's first prank call is a classic.
This is the Acme Appliance Company. Is your refrigerator running? Yeah. And you better run after it before it gets away.
Jake says it's lame and proceeds to go full sociopath with his prank call.
Now, to qualify for an all-expense-paid dream vacation.
At least Chris tried. I mean, not hard, mind you, but a little to change his voice. Jake just sounds like a young boy. Frankly, if that lady believed he was from the radio station, then she deserves to be had. Anyway, the call is interrupted by Jake's older sister, Annie, who says,
I'm in charge here while they're on vacation, so stop acting like a little wart.
Of course the parents are on vacation. I mean, at this point, I should just be happy that they're not dead or divorced. Or dead and divorced. Anyway, Jake asks if Annie is going to tell Mom and Dad, but she tells him to forget about them because he's going to get tagged by the phone police. Really, Annie? The phone police? That's the best you could come up with?
Who are you and how do you know my name?
Chris and Jake question Annie about the phone police, and she tells them that the phone has certain rules of operation. The first rule is...
No mineral or vegetable. Only animal.
Sorry, wrong rule. She says you don't leave it off the hook, don't let it ring too long, and don't make prank calls. Of course, she left off the most important rule, and that's that parents shouldn't eavesdrop when their child is talking to a girl they like so they can inevitably embarrass them in front of said girl on said phone call. I mean, I've heard that's the most important rule. I've never experienced that myself. I'd also like to point out that I don't think this is really Jake's sister because what the hell is she drinking? That looks like a cocktail from the headmaster's office in The Tale of the Hatching. I mean, she does eventually pour it out, but what was that doing in the refrigerator to begin with? And look, everybody knows, if you find yourself looking for a refreshing drink in a fridge filled with soda or a liquid of a questionable color, you always reach for the Sunny D.
Hey, we got some soda. OJ, purple stuff, Sunny Delight.
Jake says she's making up the stuff about the phone police, but Annie says if they keep messing with the phone, they'll end up like Billy Baxter. Apparently, Billy was making prank calls until he was tracked down by the phone police and taken. And his dad wasn't Liam Neeson.
I will find you. And I will kill you.
Annie finishes her parental ruse by saying,
You mess with the phone, you answer to the phone police.
Okay, as a kid, that would have been the dumbest threat I'd ever heard. Now, being an adult who has actually received a phone bill in excess of $500 on occasion, you do not with the phone police. Chris heads home, but Jake grabs a phone book and looks up the name Billy Baxter, which appears in big letters and has a 6-digit number. Jake doesn't think it'll work, but he calls the number anyway, resulting in...
Hello?
Oh, come on, Jake. You've never heard of reverse pranking? That's all that was. Later that night, Jake is awoken by a call from the same voice. He hangs up and goes back to sleep, only to have the voice call back a short time later. This time, Jake picks up, but immediately hangs up the phone. Now, at this point, I'd just unplug the phone from the wall, but old Jake tries a slightly different approach when the phone rings again. Look, I admit, if I unplugged the receiver and was still hearing stuff, I'd be freaked out. The phone continues to ring and Jake throws the phone off the bed. But like, how has Annie not flipped her shit over this midnight phone ringing? Are we to believe that the phone is only ringing in Jake's room? The next day, Chris and Jake are walking on the sidewalk outside in the rain. Jake has told Chris the story and Chris thinks that it was Annie pranking him. They happen past the phone booth. Oh boy. Looks like it's time for another
old-timey history lesson. These public contraptions, used by early man, could let people communicate over long distances while also sharing their germs with the next person inside. Coins would be inserted, allowing you to speak with someone for a brief period of time dictated by a short-tempered woman seemingly trapped inside the machine somewhere. Phone booths were also popular with archaic superheroes who needed a mildly concealed place for a quick change.
The phone rings as the boys pass it. Jake refuses to answer it, so Chris does and hears the voice that Jake heard the night before. Keep that in mind because that's going to become a point of contention later. The boys decide they need to do something about this, so they head to... Not the phone company, just phone company. And look, branding is very important, so that's how I'm going to refer to it for the remainder of the episode. Okay, the boys speak to a woman in giant shoulder pads at the reception desk. They show her the 6-digit number and ask her where they can learn more about it. She says the number is old and discontinued, but the boys say they called it and got an answer, which changes her entire demeanor.
The records department is in the basement. They'll take care of you.
Thanks.
Oh, boys.
It's a trap!
Shoulder pads pushes a button as the boys head off. They get out of an elevator that has a blanket hanging down in the background. Look, I'm pretty certain of two things here. One, this is a completely different set than phone company lobby because we do see that elevator later on and it looks completely different inside. And two, I don't think that what we're seeing here is an elevator at all, which makes the blanket all that more perplexing. Like, couldn't you have just put a wooden facade in the back that looks similar to the elevator interior from the lobby? Oh, hang on. Getting a call. Hello? Ooh, it's one of the writers. Uh-huh. What's that? Kids don't care about those details, and neither should I? Oh, fair point. Moving on. The boys approach a desk and ring a bell, but before the clerk shows up, Chris drops his backpack and kneels down to pick it up. While he's down there, the clerk shows up and has Jake come behind the counter where he accuses him of making some prank calls and and then this happens.
Jake O'Brien, phone police.
What the hell was that? That might be the most unintentionally funny thing I've ever seen on Are You Afraid of the Dark? I just want it to end like an episode of Dragnet now.
The story you've just seen is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent. On January 29th, trial was held in Department 999 of the Phone Police Headquarters in and for Phone Company of the World. In a moment, the results of that trial. The suspect was found guilty on the charges of making substandard prank phone calls to women of a certain age. He is now serving a life sentence and has had his existence scrubbed from the outside world.
While Jake gets taken away, Chris makes a run for it, escaping the building. Jake is taken to a cell, and when he asks what's happening, he's told,
Figured it out? I know, because you're a real smart kid. You got here quicker than anyone ever has.
I don't know if Jake has figured it out, but I sure could use some help understanding. He makes a prank call. His sister tells him not to, or the phone police will get him, just like they got Billy Baxter. Jake then calls Billy, and Billy starts calling him back, asking for help. Jake then takes the number to phone company and gets locked up for inquiring about it, but also for making prank calls. Like, what if his sister didn't tell him about Billy? Or what if he didn't call Billy? Or what if he just decided to ignore Billy's callbacks and never came to phone company? This is a terrible justice system. While Jake is in his cell, he gets a call from Billy. Billy tells him that the phone in his cell can't call out, but when Jake asks how he was able to call him, he says it's because Jake called him first. And this is where things get even more muddled than they already are for me. So, Jake called Billy from his house phone, which Billy was able to call him back on. But why was he able to call him on the payphone? Like, it would be one thing if, like, only Jake heard the phone ringing and only Jake could answer it, but he wasn't the one who answered it. Chris did. And that seems like a pretty big loophole if you can just call any phone that is near a person that called you and anyone can answer it. Phone magic is weird. Outside, Chris runs back to Jake's house but discovers that Annie doesn't know who he or Jake are. When Chris tells her that Jake is her brother, she says that she doesn't have a brother. Chris brings up the story she told them about Billy Baxter, but now Annie says that the story was about a kid named Jake O'Brien. Chris heads back to the phone booth from earlier and looks in the phone book to see that Jake's name is now in big letters with a 6-digit number, just like Billy before him. So does every kid that gets taken get a huge spread and a 6-digit number in the phone book? Seriously, who is running this department? Chris calls Jake and tells him that he has a plan to get him out. Chris sets a phone to ring Jake's cell endlessly while he sneaks back into phone company. He heads down to the prison level where the desk clerk has gotten tired of the phone ringing. The clerk heads to Jake's cell and gets pushed in by Chris. A bunch of phone police show up to pursue the boys, but they make it out pretty easily. Like too easily. Why would you give them phones in their cells? About these prank caller cells, should we give them any amenities? How about a phone? What? No, you can't give them that. That's what they're in here for. Well, obviously they won't be able to make calls on them. Right. Unless someone calls them first. What? Yeah, if someone calls them first, they can call that person back. But we'll make sure that the call quality is terrible, like that of a 90s cell phone. How would anyone get the number to call them? We'll put it in the phone book in big letters. Frankly, it'll be hard to miss. What's the point of all of this? Wait, there's supposed to be a point? Back outside, the boys are pursued by the phone police, but they manage to make it back to Jake's house where they find that Annie remembers them both again. The doorbell rings and they tell her not to answer it because it's the phone police. Annie tells them that she made up the whole phone police story and answers the door, resulting in...
One jumbo extra cheese all dressed, hold the anchovies.
Okay, that man was clearly a serial killer, and Annie should never be left in charge of anyone's well-being ever again. The boys head back to Jake's room where Jake lies down and Chris tries to convince himself that what happened was real. It's at this point that we get the big twist ending. Come on, Tucker. Bring it home. What? If the phone police are real, why did they pretend to deliver a pizza, only not to deliver a pizza? Like, wouldn't they have Men in Blacked Annie and apprehended the escapee and Chris? The phone police is the worst law enforcement agency I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
The story ends with Tucker saying that Jake and Chris never made another prank call ever again. Tucker then gives Frank a little jump scare.
The end!
I don't know what those phones cost in the 90s, but when they first hit the market in the mid-80s, they were $4,000 a piece. And Gary's family has 2 of them that they're just willing to send off with their kids into the woods. I think I'm learning things about Gare Bear that I didn't want to know. Like the fact that his family clearly works for a drug kingpin and the magic shop is just a front. How else could they afford all these extravagances? Anyway, the episode ends with Gary and Tucker giving each other an unjustified celebratory high five before putting the fire out with magic. Now for the review. This episode did not do it for me. I like the concept, but the story and execution were all over the place. You could clearly see the inspiration from George Orwell's 1984 and the Thought Police here, so it could be a bit of my distaste for that book that's affected my opinion of this episode, but I really think there's more to it than that.
You think you got it bad now? Just you wait.
The settings were fine. I think the interiors of Phone Company gave that totalitarian sci-fi appearance, but I just don't feel like they were used enough or to their full effect.
What are you doing?
The story. Yikes. This is what really kills the episode for me. I was so confused by the chain of events that led to Jake being incarcerated. And then we have this character of Billy Baxter that goes nowhere, and there is literally no real resolution at the end. The boys escape, we see the phone police follow them to Jake's house, and then nothing. They lived prank-free ever after.
That's it. You've had it.
I would have liked to have seen someone from Phone Company call Jake after his first prank call to give him a warning. Have him ignore it or think that he's being pranked. Then cut to another day where he's making more prank calls. Then he gets a call that says they're coming. Have him get taken in by the phone police and have Chris witness it so that he can help Jake escape later. You can still include the Billy Baxter story and, just have Jake hear from him in jail to get some exposition about the phone police. I also think that one of their dark endings would have gone a long way in this episode for me.
I can't believe you're letting him talk you into this stuff.
The scares were light, but this was more a Twilight Zone-esque sci-fi story than it was a horror story, so I'm not going to knock them for that. I will say this. I think the voice of Billy could have been creepier on the phone, and I think the phone police themselves should have had a more ominous look about them, maybe with like a mask, a gas mask, or I don't know, something like that. The fact that they just look like budget police extras had me laughing so hard. Younger me definitely wouldn't have found this episode scary, though it might have had him concerned about his cousin Summer, who did the best prank calls. Yes! The acting in this episode was fine. It's kind of a weird situation for me, where I don't think anyone did bad, but I also don't think anyone did well enough for me to single them out. Jake, Chris, and Annie were all decent, but at certain times I felt like they were each slightly lacking. But only slightly. I mean, I've definitely seen much worse on the show, so maybe it's just the lousy story that's affecting my opinion of their performances.
Good thing one of you guys has some brains.
The adult acting in this episode was also difficult to judge because neither actor is really in the episode enough to give much of a performance. Shoulder Pads, aka the receptionist, was fine. She did have great don't bother me, I'm busy energy. The phone clerk had more to do, and I feel like he could have given us one of those just great Are You Afraid of the Dark villainous performances if the character had been written better. As it was, the actor did the best with what he was given.
We don't get very many of these nowadays.
Tucker, it pains me that I have to deliver this pun in such a straightforward manner. But you really phoned this one in. The Tale of the Phone Police does not meet the approval of the Midnight Society. The Midnight Society members poll on this episode was actually far more mixed than usual, with about 20% of the vote being against, but the positive votes still win out, so I'm getting overruled and your tale meets approval, Tucker. I want to thank the following Midnight Society members for participating in this video's poll. Whoa. Sorry. This is so embarrassing. I thought I turned this thing off. Hello?
This is the phone police.
Yeah?
Shut up and listen. Warrants have been issued for the following pranksters. Erjote, Jesse, Alice, Benjamin, Andrea A., Reggie, Michael W., Dan, Tessa, Timothy, Brooke, Corey, Shara, Mara, Melissa, Kaylin, Nikki. Nikki is a particularly nasty offender, asking to speak to such people as Seymour Butts and Ivana Killia. We're also looking for Cortland, Alexandria, John, Elizabeth, Andrew N., Kari, Adam, Cynthia, Andrea A., Carmen, Wild Kyle. Kyle thinks it's wild to tell people Prince Albert is suffocating in a can. We've got a very dark cell for him. Be on the lookout for Dorothy, Estivali, Ivan, Amanda F., Ashley, Hetty, Joshua, Daniel J., Ryan, Matthew K., Tommy, Kirsten, Zachariah, Amanda R., Andrea Q., Kiki, Curtis, Jesus, Elizabeth, Mike B., Jonathan, Danny S., Nicole, Andrew B., Tammy. Tammy likes to make jokes about refrigerators running. Well, who's running now, Tammy? The last offenders to keep watch for include Jordan, Carson, Jason, Nathaniel, Brooks, Sierra, Allison, Sarah, Bree, Stacy, Jenna, Matt P., and Rob.
Wait, am I being charged for this call?
Oh, it's going to be like that, is it? Add this guy's name to the list as well.
Talk about gullible.
What did you all think of Tucker's story? Did you see it as a kid? Did you find it scary or meh? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out the next episode about the tale of the doll maker. Until then, are you afraid of the dark?
Jake O'Brien, phone police.
Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and a share. Be sure to subscribe and click that bell icon to be notified when more Midnight Society episodes go up. And we've got some other cool nostalgic shows on the channel, so stick around. You might find something else that you like.